Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are breaking down an absolutely fascinating psychology-based framework for connecting with highly powerful people. I want you to go ahead and forget all the standard polite advice you've been taught since childhood. Saying please and thank you, or handing out glossy business cards that, let's be real, just end up in the trash anyway. Instead, we're going to look at the raw, unfiltered truth of social dynamics, all through the lens of Machiavelli's 6 laws for social climbing. By the time we finish up here, you are going to have a completely new, incredibly strategic toolkit for bypassing the gatekeepers and commanding the respect of the elite. Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this very relatable scenario for a second. You're at a wedding, and to your total surprise, a major VIP is there. We're talking a top-tier business person, a famous investor, or maybe a highly influential politician. You suddenly realize that just being in their contact list could literally fast-track your career by 10 to 15 years. Out of nowhere, you find yourself introduced to them, and you've got exactly a 5-minute window to make an impression. The stakes are incredibly high. So how do you ensure they actually remember you in a sea of faces? Well, in that high-pressure 5 minutes, most people immediately default to one of 3 massive social blunders. They brag and list off all their achievements, they beg for a job or a favor, or they totally fanboy out, just showering the VIP with blind praise. If any of those crossed your mind, the source material warrants that you've basically lost before you've even begun. You see, powerful people are constantly surrounded by individuals trying to extract time, energy, and money from them. When you take the common approach, they instantly label you as useless or just another beggar. But the Machiavellian tactic, and our law number 1, is to approach on equal footing. You present yourself not as a fan, but as a real, practical solution to their problems. And that brings us to a fundamental rule of human psychology. Strength respects strength. Powerful people deal with needy, draining energy on a daily basis. If you approach them with excessive submissiveness, using a timid tone, bowing down, and treating them like literal royalty, they are going to view you as weak. You've got to stand your ground. Now, you don't need to be arrogant, not at all, but you must look confident, maintain strong eye contact, and hold your posture. You have to show real capability and potential. Don't stand before them as a question mark or a beggar. Stand before them as the answer they've been looking for. Let's move to Law 2 and see how this builds. Law 2, study before you speak. When most people get a few minutes with someone powerful, they totally panic. They feel this intense, nervous urge to rush in, talk fast, and try to impress the VIP with literally everything they've ever done. But climbing the social ladder, that requires patience. Before you go into battle, you must survey the battlefields. You need to observe the person, what makes them tick, what makes them tense, and what they actually desire. To cement this idea, let's look at an incredible historical example from the 1850s, involving Andrew Carnegie. Long before he became a steel magnate and one of the richest men in America, Carnegie worked as a lowly telegraph operator. But he practiced this exact law. He quietly observed his boss, a busy railway officer who always seemed incredibly stressed out about deciphering urgent telegraph codes. Now, Carnegie didn't just ask for promotion. Instead, he secretly stayed late at the office every single night, teaching himself those exact codes. Then, one day when his boss was out, an emergency code came in. Carnegie stepped right up, decoded it, and executed the necessary actions flawlessly. The common mistake here would have been for young Carnegie to march into his boss's office, dump his resume on the desk, and beg for a better salary to prove his worth. Instead, he utilized the Machiavellian tactic. He observed an unsaid need, his boss's overwhelming stress, and he delivered a direct solution to it. When the boss returned and asked who handled the emergency, Carnegie simply introduced himself and explained he had been studying the codes at night. In one brilliant move, without making any noise or begging for a favor, he bypassed the usual corporate ladder and proved himself to be a highly reliable, indispensable ally. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is Law 3, match their rhythm. Here's the thing. Powerful people naturally protect their space. They prefer the familiar, and they instinctively try to keep outsiders, outside. If you want to penetrate that barrier and get close to a VIP, you have to ensure that you don't trigger their outsider alarms. You do this by matching their rhythm. Now, to be clear, this does not mean blindly copying their every move like a parrot. It's about aligning with their fundamental vibe. If the VIP is a highly practical, serious, and formal person, you definitely don't approach them with casual jokes and a laid-back attitude. You maintain a serious professional tone. Conversely, if they are super natural and casual, being overly stiff and formal is going to make you stand out in a really bad way. By seamlessly adapting to their wavelength, energy, and values, that outsider label just fades away, and they begin to feel like you naturally belong in their world. Which brings us to Law 4, maintain mystery in your value. Now, this is where so many highly competent people completely sabotage themselves. From a young age, we're taught to be open books, right? To show all our cards and tell everyone exactly what we're capable of. But in the realm of high-stakes networking, being a completely open book is a massive strategic error. Think about it. If you tell a powerful person every single thing you can do right up front, you commoditize yourself. You become like a product on a shelf with a fixed label. They'll say, okay, this person is good for X, but not for Y, and they will only ever call you when they need X. You become a single-use tool. But if you reveal your depth slowly, if they see you execute brilliantly in one area, but sense you have unrevealed connections, deeper knowledge, and broader reach, you maintain this awesome aura of mystery. They will constantly wonder what else you are capable of, which instantly elevates your perceived value and keeps you firmly top of mind.
Let's transition over to Law 5, hide ambition, execute fiercely. So the crucial point is that this law addresses a very delicate balance of drive and perception. You really have to remember that powerful people got to where they are because they are incredibly ambitious themselves, so they are uniquely attuned to spotting that same exact hunger in others. If you show a desperate, wild hunger to climb the ladder, the VIP will eventually start viewing you as a threat to their own position. You never, ever want to look like a starving animal desperate for a promotion. The Machiavellian tactic is to maintain a remarkably calm, patient, and composed presence when you are around them. Hide that fierce ambition. But, and this is the absolute key here, when an opportunity presents itself, you must transform instantly and execute the task with absolute ferocity and speed. You want them to view you as a highly effective, loyal weapon they want to keep by their side, definitely not a rival coming for their crown. And finally, we arrive at Law 6, build alliances sideways.
And this brilliantly illustrates the most common networking mistake in the world, which is believing that the boss, the person holding the highest title, is your only important target. People exhaust themselves trying to suck up to the CEO while completely ignoring the people who actually manage the CEO's life. Think about the reality of a VIP's world and their inner circle for a second. The CEO's secretary, the trusted advisors, the lawyers, the accountants, the personal assistants. These are the people who constantly orbit the boss. They control the schedule, they filter the information, and they literally hold the keys to the kingdom. If you want true, lasting access to the top, your alliances must be built sideways with these crucial individuals. Machiavelli actually has a brilliant term for this concept, the invisible prince. While the CEO might be the one wearing the crown, the invisible prince, those trusted advisors and gatekeepers, often wields the actual influence. They are the ones with the deep, granular understanding of how the empire truly operates across all of its departments. They're the ones advising the leader on what direction to take and, more importantly, who to trust. By winning over the invisible prince, you are effectively tapping into the true source of power right behind the throne. So instead of making the rookie mistake of only targeting the top executive, where, let's face it, you are competing with absolutely everyone else, you use the Machiavellian tactic of befriending the gatekeepers. Provide them with real value, treat them with immense respect, and build genuine friendships sideways. This acts as an incredible insurance policy for your career. When a crisis hits, they will protect you. And when you actually need your name or your message delivered straight to the top, these gatekeepers will give you the trusted backdoor access that a standard business card never, ever could. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought. Think about your past interactions with influential people. Ask yourself honestly, are you networking just to beg for favors, hoping someone will magically hand you an opportunity? Or are you ready to completely shift your mindset, stand on equal footing, and build strategic, powerful alliances? The laws of social dynamics are always in play, whether you recognize them or not. The real question is, now that you know the rules of the game, how are you going to play it?